Okay, I'm recording.
All right, signed it. Okay. My name is Amy. You guys want to say what your names are? Introduce yourself.
I'll start. I'm Destiny.
I'm Diamond.
I'm Alex.
Awesome, thank you. Here are your instruction sheets. Today is April 15th, 2015, and the time is 12 noon. Thank you for your participation. You will participate in this task as a team, and I will be recording the session. I will first hand out the instruction sheet and an envelope to each of you, as well as one team answer sheet, which is all here and been distributed. Don't look inside your envelopes yet. As I read the instructions, please look at your instruction sheet and follow along with me. You and your two teammates will solve a written murder mystery using the clues provided. Please do not look at the clues yet. Wait until I read the instructions to take a look at your clues. After the instructions, you will be given 5 minutes to read the clues quietly to yourself. When prompted, you may begin to discuss the mystery, your clues, and your ideas in order to reach a consensus-driven solution. This session will continue until you believe you have the correct answer as a team. When you believe you have the correct answers as a team, write down who you believe the murderer is, what the weapon was used, the time of the murderer, the place of the murderer, and the motive for the murder. There is only one correct response for each of the 5 parts of the solution. A sheet of paper and pencil have been provided so you could write down your team's answers. When finished, submit the sheet of paper and your team's answers to me, Amy, your proctor. Your team must come to a consensus on each of the 5 parts of the solution. Like, meaning you may not turn in any solution, a part of the solution, without the rest of the team agreeing upon it. Here are the rules. Once prompted to, during the first 5 minutes, read your clues in silence and don't share any information with your other team. Don't exchange your clues with your teammates. Like, for example, you're not allowed to hand your clues to another or show your clues to your teammates. Furthermore, you're not allowed to walk around the table or switch seats in order to see each other's clues. The only way to share information about your clues is through verbal discussions with your group. Like, you can't rewrite other people's clues. The clues must only be verbally exchanged. Do not look at each other's clues. So I'm going to time you for 5 minutes, and after the first 5 minutes, then you'll be prompted to begin your discussion. Do you have any questions? Raise your hands and I'll come over to you. Before we begin, do you have any questions? All right, good. Let's begin. Open up your clues, and I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay, time's up. You guys are ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, begin discussing.
Okay. So the victim was Mr. Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
and his body was found in the park. And the only thing that I can come across is that the only one that really had a motive was Mr. Jones, because he was taking business away from him.
Oh, that's so awkward. I have Miss Smith, who often followed him and left the building, usually when he left too.
I have Mr. Jones because his gun was the one that shot him in the back.
I also have that the knife in Mrs. Smith's yard had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it. So it does sound.
To go with the gun, I have the bullet taken from Mr. Kelly's thigh matched the gun owned by Mr. Jones.
Same.
Okay.
What was he? Did he die? What was the weapon? It was the gun and the knife.
I just have
I have the gun.
I have the knife, and it says that the knife found in Mrs. Smith's yard had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it, and that's it.
But it doesn't say that it had blood on it.
Right.
I
It
have
doesn't.
the bullet hole in his thigh and the knife in his back. So it was both of them. Can it be two murder weapons? No.
Just one.
Just one.
Well,
One answer for everything.
Here's the thing, like, the bullet wound was in his thigh, but that can't kill him.
Yeah, I was gonna say
So
the
with
back.
the knife in the back would kill him.
Okay.
And it doesn't say where on the back. I just feel like this is still part of your back.
Yeah. So like it could probably be like the chest area.
Exactly.
So that could be the killing blow.
I agree with that. I think it's the knife.
So-
We agree with that.
Yeah, we agree with the weapon being the knife.
And did we agree on the murder?
The murderer, not yet.
Okay. So you had Mr. Who was your murderer?
So the weapon is the knife.
Yes.
Oh, and we need the time, place,
The time.
motive.
The only time I have is at the
I have the time. Mr. Kelly's body was found at 1:30 a.m.
the time of okay. I only have the last time Mr. Kelly
Oh,
saw
so wait.
was seen.
But it also says the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30. The elevator man went off at 12:30, but the body was found at 1:30.
Okay.
And it's saying the time of the murder.
Yes.
Mhm.
I
So
have
could we say like between X and X or no?
the elevator man saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Scott's room at 12:25 a.m.
I would say then it's probably 12:25.
So
Mine says Mrs. Smith said that no one left the apartment building between 1:25 and 1:45.
So it would make sense that it's 12:25. Am I right? Because that means that he went back at those times.
that means that he was in there from like 12:25 to 12:45.
Oh, okay.
So he didn't leave that part. He didn't leave the building. And the wife went to Mr. Scott's room as well? Apartment? Or someone else did around 11?
No, it says that the elevator man saw Mrs. Kelly's wife go to Mr. Scott's apartment at 11:30.
Oh, okay. So like a little bit like afterward, that's when Mr. Kelly went
Yeah.
into the apartment.
Mine
yeah.
says Mrs. Smith saw Mr. Kelly go to Mr. Jones' apartment building at 11:55. So who's Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Kelly is the victim.
Okay. And Mr. Jones is the one.
He's one of the suspects.
And you have Mrs. Smith as one of the suspects.
Yes, but I think yours is more. I think she's more of like a helper,
Okay.
and that's. I feel like the murderer is what's his name.
Mr. Jones.
Do you agree with that?
I feel like it might be Mr. Scott because also Mr. Kelly's bloodstains were found in Mr. Scott's car
Okay, so we're between Mr. Scott
and
and
Mr. Jones, and also bloodstains were found on the carpet outside Mr. Jones's apartment.
okay.
So
And Mr. Kelly's blood was found in Mrs. Smith's yard.
So
There's a lot of suspects.
who's the murderer?
I'm leaning towards Mr. Scott. How about you?
I don't know anything about Mr. Scott.
I also have stuff about Mr. Scott because the knife in Mrs. Yard had Mr. Scott's fingerprints on it,
Yeah, and
Okay.
so it's Mr. Scott. Do we agree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next question. The time of the murder. Okay, so it has to be before 1:30.
Yeah.
Because the body was found at 1:30.
And he could
And it has to be after 12:40, right?
Well, I'm not sure. It's like from the time frame of 12:25 to 1:20. It has to be in that frame time. So other ones are there, other times were there.
And I think it also has to be after 12:30 because the elevator man went off duty at 12:30, meaning like maybe he would have saw if it if it
You
happened.
wouldn't have seen it, so it probably is like around like 12, like past that point.
Right.
So like 12:40 range.
45.
Mine says Mr. Jones shot at an intruder in his apartment building at 12 midnight. So could Mr. Kelly be Mr. Kelly be the intruder?
He could, and that's why he shot him in the thigh. And Mr. Kelly could have possibly gone to Mr. Scott's room for assistance. And then that's when Mr. Scott probably did the deed.
So what are we stuck between for the times?
I would say
The time of the death would be like around like the 1240s.
yeah.
12:40.
Mhm.
Consensus. AM.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, the place.
I know it was in an apartment.
It should be like Mr. Scott's apartment.
But it says the knife found in Mrs. Smith's yard. He could have thrown it.
Yeah, he could have just chucked it when he was making a getaway because like the blood stains was found in his car as
So
well.
whose apartment did you say?
Mr. Scott's, because
Do you agree with that?
he went to Mr. Scott's apartment during that time frame.
And the motive you said was because he, what? Didn't he like get him off of work or something? Or was that the other guy?
No, Mr. Jones, he was destroying Mr. Jones's business,
Oh.
Mr. Kelly. I can't find a motive. I don't have anything on a motive for Mr. Scott.
Maybe Mr. Scott worked for that guy.
Well, there's also the wife. Why did the wife go to Mr. Scott's room?
Oh, so yeah, true. It could have been like cheating.
Possibly.
And Mr. Kelly went to Mr. Jones' apartment.
Wait, what?
Mr. Kelly went to Mr. Jones' apartment. So
Well, that was before all this happened. That's why I was
I
linking
just said 11:55 p.m.
the 11:55. I was linking that towards the reason why, like, Mr. Jones' like bullet from his gun was in Mr. Kelly's thigh because you said there was an intruder in Mr. Jones' apartment. So I probably thought that Mr. Kelly was the intruder and shot him.
I see that. So we think the place was the apartment.
The
Yeah.
Scott's apartment.
And the last question, the motive.
Um,
Not that we have that much to go off of, I feel.
Not really. The only one with like a solid motive would be Smith and Jones.
Right.
Scott doesn't really have one, except I feel like there's something with
Cheating.
because I have one more clue that says Mr. Kelly's wife disappeared after the murder.
I have that too.
Yeah.
Something similar to that.
And you said that she also went to
And frequent-
Scott's
yeah.
apartment. She could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
No, that all I have for Mrs. Kelly is that she was in the lobby.
Could have been waiting.
Mhm.
So should I say cheating?
Possibly, yeah. She with wife. With Mr. Kelly's wife.
Is that something to kill over? I don't know.
Well, with murders, there's a lot of different.
I mean, there's obviously something.
Yeah, a
off
little off
anyway.
there.
Consensus.
Because it could be like,
We're
Mrs.
done.
Kelly and Scott want to be together.
Yay.